I wish more women knew these three things would magnetically draw their husbands closer to them without them having to beg and argue and nag and cry and do all of that stuff that actually doesn't draw your husband closer but pushes him away. So I'm going to share them with you. These are three things that I did that made me a spoilt wife, doted on wife, a treasured wife. I am my husband's absolute passion. I never have to beg for him to spend time with me or pay me attention. And it wasn't always like that. There was a time where I really felt like I was grasping for any form of attention from him, like I was last on his list of priorities. And it was when I learned these three things that I just began to see everything shift. And actually, I realized just how easy it was and just how my previous behaviors were not getting me what I wanted at all, but were actually giving me everything I didn't want. Him being distant, him just not wanting to be in my space so much, was always arguing. I felt like I wasn't being heard. It was really not good. But anyways, here's the three things. Number one, understanding the male ego was an absolute game changer for me. Understanding its purpose, what it does, what it's there for, what it means to him, knowing that the male ego is directly linked to his self-esteem, meaning how he feels about himself, and then learning how to communicate with him based on my understanding of the male ego, learning how to operate with him based on my understanding of the male ego. Absolute game changer. Absolute game changer. I suddenly found that my husband wanted to just be in my presence, would rush home to be with me, was so much more open to hearing me and communicating with me, was making plans to spend as much time with me as possible, was prioritizing me just from understanding the male ego and knowing how to operate with it. Number two, I stopped looking to him for validation and just really started to connect with my femininity, which I actually didn't realize what it was. I didn't know that I'd disconnected from it. And I really didn't know that I was operating in my masculine energy like 90% of the time. And the rest of the time, I was probably in my wounded feminine. And so it was like, no wonder he was struggling to spend time with me. I realized that it wasn't that he didn't want to, but that I was so much in my masculine that it was hard for him to really just relax and be in my presence. And once I learned about my feminine, I reconnected with my feminine energy and I realized just how powerful it was. I became home to him. Like I was his safe place. I was his comfort. But at the same time, I also became his wisdom and his intuition and his creativity. He started to see me blossom because I connected with me, because I made myself feel amazing. Like I stepped into my feminine beauty and my power and rediscovered who I was and stopped sort of clinging and dragging on him to validate me, to remind me of who I am, to make me feel beautiful and sexy and remind me of my talents and my gifts and my uniqueness. I just started to find it within myself and my confidence grew. And let me tell you something, there's nothing more attractive than a woman who is quietly confident in who she is and in her femininity. And then the last thing that I did, which really came as a shock to me, was I put my superwoman cape down. I was under the impression all this time that I needed to do more, be more. I needed to carry everything. I needed to solve all the problems. It was all on my shoulder. I needed to be wife of the year and do everything. I'm going to cook, clean, look after the kids, pay the bills. I'm going to do everything. And I didn't realize just how controlling that energy is. And also how exhausting it was for me, how much resentment it was building up within me. And that was the energy that I was creating in my world. So even though I thought, yeah, I'm doing all the things a wife is supposed to do and more, it was affecting me to the point that my energetic field felt hard and uncomfortable and tense, meaning that when my husband came into my atmosphere, he was stepping into an atmosphere that wasn't very comfortable for him because I was trying to be Superwoman. I didn't realize that not only was I not designed to be Superwoman, I really didn't need to. On top of that, I was not allowing his hero instinct to be ignited towards me. You see, when I let go of that Superwoman cape and I just started to say, just because I can doesn't mean I have to. And I gave him space to show up for me. I gave him space to lead. I gave him space to take control. I gave him space to do, to serve, right? Acts of service towards me. I discovered that he'd been waiting and looking for that space all this time, and I hadn't given it to him. I hadn't allowed him. I'd been doing the whole I can do it all by myself and thinking that was what he needed and that's what my marriage needed. Whereas what he wanted to do all this time was to have the space to show up for me, to be my hero, to have that hero instinct ignited towards me. That's the life I live now, where he literally is my hero and allows me to live that softer, more rested life that I'm supposed to be living, meaning that I can now tap into my strengths and my beauties and create alongside with him. These are the things that I've been helping women do in their marriage, and they've been finding that their marriage has been turning around without them begging and crying and nagging. Just this shift in their marriage, this shift in their husband's energy towards them, just by practicing some of these things and more. I've opened up the doors to a brand new wives membership, and I am looking for women who are ready to step into their feminine power, to rediscover themselves again, to shift from being the victim to the authority of their lives, to stop the begging and the crying and the fighting and chasing and start just magnetically attracting their husband and becoming his passion. If you're that woman, join my membership today. Hit the link in my bio and I'll see you in there.